What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Funhouse. I am Kevin Cotillo. I am back in the quote-unquote big chair, we'll call it. Although it's not really a big chair. It's a small chair. It's a hotel room chair. I'm happy to be back, Sal. I was glad to see that you didn't care at all where I was yesterday or when you recorded. I did listen to the beginning of the podcast so far, and it was nice that you gave Steve this nice intro, talked about his brand new daughter, and then just said no one cares that I wasn't there. So that was very nice of you.
Well, Steve's never coming back. So
right, let's call it.
I figured I'd give the guy, a little shout, make him feel good about himself, because while he gained the daughter, he lost the show.
He did lose a show. Still has a job as an editor, though. So
yeah, in fact, he's slacking on that as well.
Yeah, he did do that this week.
Poor Kevin is away working. Had to take time out to edit because I don't get involved in that stuff. I'm computer illiterate. In fact, if you didn't know, the show started at 9:10 yesterday, Kevin, because I couldn't figure out a way to send the link out.
I did not notice that. I saw that you had. I at one point saw that you had posted something in our chat trying to find out exactly how to do that. It's very easy. You click the little add people button in the top there. It's really, really very easy.
I did that, and for some reason it did not send to those two morons who joined me last night. So I had to actually hold the link and slide it over, and I got them on eventually. We kicked the show off. It was a good time. I had a little bit of fun. I tell you, while I was recording that show, I was receiving bad news throughout the show as your Boston Red Sox beat my New York Yankees. So I say congratulations to you guys.
Yes, they certainly did. I was paying attention to that game while I was traveling through multiple airports, and it was nice to see that they were ahead. When I got to my hotel room, in my mind, they had been up 4-1. So I figured, all right, good deal. It did not end that way. But
yeah, it got very close at the end there, and then almost, the Ghosts were almost back, which we know there's been back and forth in that series over the years. But that was 14 years ago, believe it or not, that they last played in the playoffs. It does not seem like that, but congratulations to the Boston Red Sox, the Boston fans. They are the better team this year. They deserved to move on, and we'll be back next year.
I'm sure you will. You got a good young core there. You need some pitching. Obviously, your starters did not perform very well in this.
Not a single one.
Severino looks like a good young pitcher, but he did have his struggles, and Sabathia is just, he's at the end of his line, I think. And, we'll see. He had a decent regular season though. So I guess, it is what it is.
You guys old.
The thing is though, they've really changed the way they build teams in New York, and we'll get to football in a minute for anyone, who doesn't want to hear baseball talk, but I'm actually really impressed. It's kind of like what the Raiders were able to do for a couple of years there. So my hope is that, the Yankees will do exactly what the Raiders did and blow up that team on the cusp of being great again too.
You think like Aaron Boone will have like one bad year and they'll just bring Joe Torre back? They'll be like, get dust off Joe Torre. We have to have him back.
Let's bring back Torre. Yeah.
Let's back to 98.
Yeah, they'll bring back Torre, and you'll see Clemens on the mound again, and who was the other guy? I always forget his name. He pitched for us too, actually.
David Cohn?
Not David Cohn.
He did pitch for the Red Sox for half an hour.
Who was the fat guy?
Oh, David Wells?
David Wells, yes. David Wells, yeah.
I didn't like David Wells. Quit 2003 in the playoffs. After the first inning against the Marlins, didn't come back and said, I have an entire career to worry about. No, you jerk. You have an entire season to get healthy. It's the World Series.
Yeah. Well,
I never liked David Wells after that fat gout having freak. Sorry to all the people out there who have gout. I'm sorry.
And the fat people too. We have a lot of fat listeners, Sal. I'm sure of it. So
I'm a little chubby right now. I'm put some weight on.
Well, you shouldn't be. You're single. You should have that single.
I'm not eating well, Kevin.
Let's be honest. You're not cooking for yourself. So, before we do get into this week's games, I do want to thank Brandon and Tony for helping you through last night. There's no way we would have allowed you to do a show by yourself. So I'm glad that they were able to do something to help you out. Not that they added much, but at least they added something.
I was going to go for it, and I realized
I know you were. 10 minutes,
I would have nothing to say.
Yeah, that's right. That would have not have gone well at all. All right. We are going to go through every game from this upcoming weekend, week 6. We're going to look ahead. We're going to do what we've done the last couple of weeks, which is go through some of the projections for the players that we find interesting in the upcoming games. We'll talk about it through our Falafel League scoring, which is obviously our league of record. It is half-point PPR basically through ESPN, so everything else is pretty much regular other than the half-point PPR. And we're going to start off with the Eagles and the Giants, a Thursday night game. Last Thursday night game was pretty good, actually, if I remember correctly. This Thursday night game, I'm not expecting to be as good.
Oh, did the Patriots play last Thursday?
Yeah, it was
and
a
they
great
won?
game.
Oh, no wonder why.
They did. I'm sure as a non-Patriots fan, it wasn't very entertaining, but
no, I have Brady this year in Falafel, so it was fine for me. I got offered tickets for tomorrow night's game. I'm not going to go, but I was offered tickets today, and I was like, no, pass.
You'd rather stay home and eat an entire pizza by yourself?
Oh, I get garlic nuts too.
All right. Well, on the Eagles side of the ball, there's a couple of guys I want to ask you about because Alshon Jeffrey returned and had his second game in his return. And his first game was great. 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Not so good in the second game, obviously against a much better defense, or at least an up-and-down defense who we know has talent. 2 catches for 39 yards. In this one, he is projected to get 10.2. So, if you look at his 20.5 in the first week he was back in week 4 and his 4.9 in the second week, it's not far off from his per-game average. But which Alshon Jeffrey is going to show up against the Giants?
Well, I tell you, it's funny when you look at the Giants' defense; they're actually pretty good this year. And they can't seem to win a game. They can't seem to finish a game, but they got a pretty good defense. So, boy, I'm going to say below. The Giants are only giving up 147 total rushing yards to wide receivers a game. We know Nelson Aguilar is there. Jordan Matthews is rearing his head.
Are there a lot of wide receivers running the ball in against New York? A lot of them doing that.
A lot of wide receivers running the ball.
Well, you said they don't give up a lot of rushing yards. So I didn't
receiving yards.
I didn't know if there was it's my job to call you out.
147.6 receiving yards a game. Sorry, it's good to have Kevin back.
I had to make my presence felt early on in the show here, so. I'm with you. I'm with you on this. I think it's going to be another tough game for Alshon. I don't know that Wentz really has his feet underneath him yet. I don't know that he's fully there yet. It would make sense. We're not seeing the scrambling as much. We're not seeing the overall. I don't even know what the word is, but that moxie that he had last year.
Chutzpah.
There you go. It'll come back, but it'll come back a little slowly. Another guy I want to ask you about, though, is Corey Clement. We know that he's been practicing so far this week. It's expected that he's going to play. Jay Ajayi goes on injured reserve, so he's done for the year, I think. And Wendell Smallwood's looked pretty good, but Clement projected to get 10.2. So clearly, they think your boy Clement's going to step right back into that starting role. Those people that do the ESPN projections just do not like Wendell Smallwood, no matter how much he produces.
What is Wendell Smallwood's projection at?
Wendell Smallwood is projected at 8 points, which is higher than he has been all season, to be honest with you.
Which is probably in this game where he's going to land, which is probably also where Clement's going to land. I mean, we saw them, a couple weeks ago when Ajayi was out, and it was basically Clement and Smallwood splitting touches, and Smallwood did more with them. Smallwood got the touchdown. I'd love to say, hey, Clement's going to come out and he's going to, be the guy that I wanted him to be in preseason when I bought up a lot of stock in him and I was talking him up. But I got to wait a little bit of time. We were talking last night. It was how crazy it is. I was a Smallwood guy for 2 years. Waiting on Smallwood. I have him in only one dynasty. Do I have him still? And I'm so disappointed right now because he has looked really, really good. Not this week, but going forward, Darren Sproles been healthy. We know he'll get touches in there. I'm interested to see how much work Josh Adams gets in this game, if any. So what I'll say is Corey Clement just below about 8 points, just below the 10, and Wendell Smallwood right around that area.
I think you're probably right there. I think they're going to split again. So really, this one's going to come down to whoever gets in the end zone, just like it did last time, because I think it'll be a similar game plan and game flow, and overall usage will be about the same. So let's look over at the Giants side of the ball. obviously, and real quick, because we always get your New York take on this.
Oh,
what's the scuttlebutt in New York about Odell Beckham Jr. and his comments on ESPN and obviously then he goes out and has a great game. But what's the word? People happy with him or sick of him?
No, people are not happy with him at all. I mean, it's this city is kind of funny. I'll call it this town, as they call it. This town is kind of funny because people are coming on the radio, sports radio in New York. I mean, with the wind, it changes, and people are, you got to get rid of this guy. You got to trade him. They just signed him to the biggest wide receiver contract in NFL history. Not only are they not trading him, no one's trading for that contract. So he's not going anywhere. So when people call up and say moronic things like that, I just have to laugh. Word was out that I believe it was the coach, or maybe it was the general manager. One of the two said Saquon Barkley is the type of leader we're looking for in his team. So it's almost like a jab at Odell. Listen, this is who he is. He's the ultimate diva wide receiver. He's not going to change. He's going to do interviews with Lil Wayne, and which was unauthorized, by the way, by Giants. The Giants people in charge of media had no idea that interview was taking place, and are surprised as everybody when it happened. So he's doing things outside of the management's control. Giant fans are not happy. They're not happy in general with the entire team. And Odell's always public enemy number one when they're not winning.
All right, well, he is a guy that will be in your lineup either way unless he's not on the field for some reason. So let's talk real quickly about a guy, in a tribute to our former co-host, Steve Marcus, Sterling Shepard, who has had a couple of good games in this season and a couple of, one mediocre game and then a couple of bad games, I guess, or a couple of mediocre games and then a bad game. Projected to get 8.8 in this one. Is he a guy that, I think you tend to play the matchups more, and we think this defense, Philly, is generally pretty good for the most part. So just do you avoid him in this? And is 8.8 a realistic number?
Yeah. Well, so Evan Ingram was early in the week supposedly possibly on track to play. He's been ruled out since. So Evan Ingram will not play, which is an uptick for Sterling Shepard. He's seen good numbers in the games with Ingram out. And while Philly is really good at defending running backs, they are not very good at defending the pass this year. They come in 29th overall against wide receivers. So, of course, Beckham's in there, and I put Shepard in as well. And I look for 10 to 12 points out of Shepard in this game.
All right. Steve, Steve, I know you're listening 15 minutes in, and we have gotten through one game. I know he is proud. So let's keep moving along. The Buccaneers will take on the Falcons. And the guy I want to ask you about in this one for the Buccaneers, Sal, is Chris Godwin. We saw him start to have a couple of good games. Looked great, in weeks 2, 3, 14 points and 13.9 points respectively. Got in the end zone the first 3 weeks. And then Jameis Winston came back. And, I know it was only towards the tail end of that game, but we only saw him with 2 receptions for 22 yards against Chicago. They have the bye week. And just so Jameis gets an extra week off, and now he's going to face Atlanta. Jameis will be the starter. But is Godwin on your bench until you figure out, or more so, until Jameis Winston figures out how to use him?
So I'd say in a 10 to 12 team league, I probably shouldn't have to be starting Chris Godwin. So if we're talking deeper leagues, he's going to be in there for me this week because Atlanta defends nothing well. And I mean nothing. Maybe the tight end. They do decent against, but they don't defend anything well. And they are 28th, just a spot above the Giants this year. I'm sorry, the Eagles this year in defending wide receivers. No, I'm going to have all three of those guys in the leagues that we play in, which are 14-team and 16-team leagues. I'm going to have them in there. But in a 10-team league, if you're in one of those leagues, you should definitely have better options than Chris Godwin, regardless of the matchup. So what was his projection for the week?
8.2.
But he could always get that touchdown. I'm going to say, let's go over for Chris Godwin this week.
Yeah, see, I'm going to take the under there. I think that Jameis prefers Deshaun Jackson, and obviously keys in on Mike Evans, and I think he likes to use the tight ends more. And OJ Howard's probably not playing in this one, but you might see some more Brait. As much as I hate it, and Steve will rub it in my face, Brait will be the guy I think that Jameis leans on a little bit when he starts to struggle, and we've seen that before. So I'm going to go under.
Howard is back at practice this week, so there is a shot that he can play.
So keep an eye on that. I still think Brait seems to be, his security blanket. So we'll see. On the other side of the ball, Devonta Freeman came out today that he's battling a bone bruise. He's not practicing. This just does not sound good. Projected to get 12.5 in this one, Sal. But are you putting him on your bench, or do you roll him? What do you do with a guy like that right now?
Yeah, so as you know, I have been in the Falafel 16 teamer, and I was looking at it today, trying to figure out what I should do, even if he plays. And I think that he probably does find his way to my bench because, Ito Smith, after I jokingly last week said I don't think he's somebody you have to worry about when Freeman and Coleman in there, got the touchdown in this game, rushing, and he did get worked in. So if Freeman's injured, we're seeing this trend this year with running backs where the teams don't want to push them. We saw today where they said Fournette in Jacksonville might sit out till week 10. So, this seems to be the growing trend. Hey, we want to save this guy for later in the season. They're in a must-win here, Atlanta, but I don't think there's a way I could play him. I'd be too nervous. He didn't have a good game last week. So more than likely, I bench him, and I don't think he gets anywhere near 12.5 if he takes the field.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I don't know that I can. I mean, Tampa Bay giving up the 6th most points to running backs, and in a 16-team league, I'm shocked that you're actually going to bench him. I mean, I
have options. So what I'll do there is I'll go with Alex Collins and Melvin Gordon at running back, and then I will slip your boy John Brown into my flex, and away we go.
I see. Now that I can't argue with. I guess I get I forget that you are one of the few teams in that league that actually has good running backs to use. So
I got Alfred Blue if you need him.
Makes a little more sense. I don't need him. I got Sony Michel, so I'm good to go there. We'll get into that later. But yeah, this whole thing with the knee makes me nervous, and hopefully, easing him back in is fine because at least you should have him for the playoff run. But it seems like the type of thing that's going to linger. But let's not linger on this game any longer. Let's move along to the Panthers and Washington. And Greg Olsen expected to make his return in this game already. He is projected to get 9.2. We only saw him in week 1. He only had 2 catches for 33 yards, but we know that Cam Newton loves him some Greg Olsen. Do you expect him to jump right back in, or is this another guy that'll be eased in?
Yeah, I'm not playing him. I've obviously, if I have him somewhere, I've found a way to get through till now, and I'll continue with whatever that option is this week. I don't know that he'll be in there for a full complement of snaps because he is back earlier than expected. I believe it will be an ease-in process, and I don't want any part of Greg Olsen this week.
I agree with you there. I'm only playing him in places where I absolutely have to, which is slim to none because of, like you said, you've gotten by with him for the last few weeks, although I mean, been a couple of leagues I am in situations where it's been, rough sledding with the tight end because Olsen's been out. So we'll see. But I'm certainly not pushing the issue. Adrian Peterson on the other side of the ball dislocated his shoulder in the previous game. We saw him go out. We saw him come back in. Did not really look very good after he came back in. He's going to play through it. He's projected to get 12.1 in this one. But I don't know that I buy that. Do you think that he can continue to be a serviceable running back with this type of injury going on?
No, and I'm the guy who's usually pro Peterson, but stock down for me right now. I got to wait and see how he's doing it. And Chris Thompson also, by the way, a little banged up as well. Carolina is another one of those teams that's kind of middle of the road against everything. So they're pretty decent against running backs, but not great. But I gotta find better option at old man AP this week.
Yeah, I think in most leagues you're probably looking at a different position. I think it's going to be under that 12.1 projection this week. So I would look elsewhere if you can. We will continue to cruise along. We're making up good ground here. Steve would be proud. The Seahawks face your Raiders. And
I don't like when you say that.
Why is that? What's wrong with that? They're your Raiders, aren't they?
They're not mine.
I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you've denounced them.
Denounced, renounced, potato.
Denounced. What is it? Is it renounced?
It's renounced, yes.
My apologies to all those who renounce anything. Mike Davis is projected to get 7.7, and Chris Carson is projected to get 12.8. This backfield has become an absolute nightmare. People asked about Rashad Penny, and Pete Carroll mentioned that he just didn't have an opportunity to get the guy in somehow. Pete Carroll's an idiot, but what are you doing with these two backs, and who's going to be the guy? Is Mike Davis a flex guy for the rest of the season?
So Carson out touched him last week and actually went over 100 yards again. A week ago, Davis still had pretty good numbers for the touches that he got. And I got to tell you, Oakland not that great against running backs. So for me, Carson is going to start for me if I have him this week. I don't know that Mike Davis is an every week flex play. How many teams are on bye this week?
What is it, 4, I think.
So if we're missing 4 teams, you might be looking for a deep flex flyer. And I could see going with Davis
2.
In that scenario.
Sorry, still only 2. Lions and Saints. Week.
Yep. All right. So again, it's going to be, what's the rest of my team look like? If I've suffered injuries, if I lost an Ajayi, if I lost some of these guys, Fournette that are gone, and I'm now moving guys that would normally be in my flex up to my starting running back position, and I got to find a guy to fill in for my flex. No, I don't hate Mike Davis in this matchup. I could see him getting over 7 and change.
Yeah, 7.7 seems pretty low for a guy that I think will catch some passes for sure, and will get a few opportunities. And he's made the most of the ones that he's gotten. As you mentioned, the Raiders definitely not very good against the run, so they fall towards the back half of the league as far as I think 8th most points. So I think he'll beat the 7.7. I'm curious to see if Chris Carson gets over the 12.8. I mean, he's been great the last couple of games that he's been in. But 12.8 seems a little high considering they're seemingly sharing opportunities at this point, although you did say that Carson has the slight edge. So on the Oakland side of the ball, I don't know who to talk about.
Benjamin.
Is that obviously, I know you're somewhat kidding, but is that true? I mean, are you benching everyone? Amari Cooper was the guy I had on my list, projected to get only 8.7. I think he's a guy that has to still be in your lineup, even if it's probably only a flex play at this point. But you got to keep rolling him out there, right?
Yeah, I'd say he's going to get over that total. Hopefully he's your wide receiver 2. Hopefully, so if he's your wide receiver 2, I'm playing him. Seattle, interestingly enough, 7th best in defending against quarterbacks, but 23rd worst in defending against wide receivers. So should be an okay day out there for Amari Cooper. Do you have Jordy Nelson's projection?
Jordy Nelson is an 8.4, so only a couple of percentage points behind Cooper.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I trust Cooper, and Nelson's been fairly steady.
Nelson's getting, has been steady, but touchdowns in each of the last 3 games, I expect that trend will run out eventually. So although he is kind of their default red zone guy, so maybe it does continue, but eventually that he's going to have that game where he doesn't catch a touchdown, and that's where he's going to hurt you. So, all right, let's keep moving along to the other New York team. Sal, the Jets will take on the Colts. This one is in New York. No, it can't be in New York, right? No, it is in New York.
It is. It is.
I thought you said the Giants were in New York too.
Well, the Giants are playing on Thursday.
That's right. Thursday night. That's right. We talked about this. I'm with it. We're going to talk about, since Steve is no longer on the show anymore, we're going to talk about Ebron because I like talking about Ebron. You like talking about Ebron. And Ebron is projected to get 10.2 points in this one. And to me, I think that's a slam dunk with Hilton out again.
Well, you're going to have to keep an eye on this one because Ebron missed practice on Wednesday with 4 different injuries. So I don't think any of them seem too serious. And, Wednesday is the day that they will give guys that they expect to play some time off. So keep, depending on what day you're listening to this, make sure you check in on that. But if Ebron plays, you got to start him. The Jets have actually been very good against tight ends this year. They are third best in the league. They're only giving up like 33 yards a game to tight ends. They've given up only one total touchdown to tight ends. But this is a tight end featured offense, and we've watched. He has gotten a ton of red zone targets with Doyle out. A ton. It's who they look for in a red zone. So there's no way you're sitting Ebron in this case.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Is there anyone in the running game that you would start?
I think Nyheim Hines has gotten to the point where his role is his role, and I trust him. I had a hunch last week right before that Thursday night game to put him in my flex and wherever I had him, and he got me 16 points in, depending on the scoring in the leagues, but right around 16 points in most of those leagues. So I was happy with that production. So right now I know Marlon Mack, full participant in practice on Wednesday. So it's going to definitely get a little crowded there. I think that affects Jordan Wilkins more than it does Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, I agree there. I don't know that I'm starting either of them for this one. I think the Jets have been relatively solid defensively, given the fact that they, weren't really expected to be great. They're middle of the road against running backs, but I think with the two players kind of eating into each other, if Mac does play this week, then it's probably a situation I'm going to avoid. Hines projected to get 9 and Mac projected to get 3.7. So they're obviously ESPN's projecting they're going to ease him in. So definitely keep an eye on that. We will look over to the Jets side of the ball, and obviously we have to talk about a little bit about, and I'm sure you talked about him with the podcast earlier this week, Isaiah Crowell, who had a historic day with 219 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He also chipped in 12 yards in the receiving, but just under 30 points in this format and projected to get all the way back down to 9.5 this week. And so I think that's right.
Isaiah Crowell he scored 2 touchdowns in week 1. He did nothing in week 2. He scored a touchdown in week 3. He did nothing in week 4.
2 touchdowns in week 3.
2 touchdowns in week 3, and then nothing in week 4, and then 2 touchdowns in week 6. So I'm sorry, week 5. So week 6 is obviously a don't start week, right? It's like the old only play him in odd weeks, don't play him in even weeks.
Right.
I guess you have to play him if he's healthy. By the way, he missed practice on Wednesday as well. So again, keep an eye on that. But I could see starting both running backs in this case. Bilal Powell, the Colts, giving up the 30th in receptions to running backs per game. I like them both. Crowell, every other week, you got to take a shot, though. I mean, the guy is like a top 12 running back this year after 5 weeks. I guess you can't keep him on your bench.
It's crazy. You know that obviously Bilal Powell leads in the snap percentage with a 53% of the offensive snaps he's in on. So, meanwhile, Crowell in on 42%. So he's dominating the snap percentage, but you're right. Crowell just has those big games, and you don't want to miss one, but I don't know. I don't feel it just doesn't feel right being in my lineup either. So I don't know what to do with him exactly, but we will continue on anyway. Cardinals will take on the Vikings, and the Vikings have been a defense that have been up and down throughout the season. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, you know what? I felt really bad for Josh Rosen, and I don't know if you guys talked about this. I felt really bad for him last week. Did you see how many dropped balls there were in that game? I mean, he actually played really well, and his numbers didn't look great because they had so many players dropped balls on him. Even Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, it's an epidemic over there in Arizona. But, the kid's got a little moxie, and he's putting the ball in the right place. But there's definitely some growing pains going on with that team.
So one guy he seems to like and have a rapport with, and we talked about it before the season, is Christian Kirk, who's projected to get 7.8 points in this one. I think that's probably a little low. I think this kid's going to go on a little run, especially Minnesota. Not that you need to key in on Larry Fitzgerald given what he's done this season, but I do think he's the guy that defenses will try to take away. So maybe we see Kirk a little bit more. I think he can get more than 7.8 in this one.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know that I'm ready to start him yet. The only place I do have him in every week is in a 32-team dynasty because, of course, if they're breathing, they're starting.
Right.
So he's been nice. Him and Kiki Cutie have been really nice for me in that league the last couple of weeks. But, he needs that big play touchdown in order to be relevant. It was a 75-yard touchdown that gave him the numbers that he had this past week. And, I was reading something the other day where he's still getting less snaps a game than obviously Fitzgerald and Chad Williams. And then until Fitzgerald relinquishes that slot position, you're not going to see the full breakout for Christian Kirk. But it really depends on how desperate I am. I don't think anywhere outside of that 32 team I'm going to be playing them this week.
You know who leads the team in offensive snaps?
Chase Edmonds?
No, not Chase Edmonds. 17%, only 17% for him. Chad Williams is in on 85% of the offensive snaps. He's on the
field a lot, Chad Williams. He's done nothing. I drafted him in Scott Fishbowl and dropped his ass.
And he's done absolutely nothing with it. It's amazing. I don't know why he's out there. Why bother?
Donnie Decoy.
Yeah, right? The decoy that does nothing. So, all right, the Vikings side of the ball, the guy I'm going to ask you about is Dalvin Cook. He's projected to get 14.6. Obviously, we know he got nothing last week. This is the guy who was way highly drafted, not by me because I did not like the risk that came along with him. I just don't think that this guy's going to get it going this season. What about you?
It's starting to have that feel, right? That just can't bust and you just can't get it going feeling. But Arizona absolutely bottom of the league against running backs. So it's going to be really hard for me if I hear Dalvin Cook is healthy and he's going to play. It's going to be really hard for me to keep him on my bench because I've gotten so little out of him. It's probably hurt my team. I'm probably not doing well. My record's probably reflecting it. And I'm going to want something out of this son of a bitch.
You know what's going to happen? It's going to be, Dalvin Cook gets, 10 carries for 60 yards, and then Latavius Murray vultures 2 touchdowns from him because Arizona's given up 7 touchdowns to running backs so far this year.
Yeah, they're definitely givers in Arizona.
Yeah, but it's going to be Murray to keep screwing all of those Dalvin Cook owners. Hey, you know what, though? It is what it is. You know what? No matter how well your fantasy players do, watching football is fun, Sal. It is fun.
It is fun. I was at a 50th birthday party for Sunday night, and I was still watching football.
And I'll bet it was more fun than your 50th birthday party. Congratulations, by the way. Happy birthday, buddy.
Not my birthday party.
Oh, football is even more entertaining, though, when you have some action on the games. If you've heard us talk about it for weeks now, and some of you are still not playing, and I don't understand it at all. Whether you're an expert or a rookie, you should be betting at my bookie. If you're the kind of guy that likes to bet a little and win a lot, which is definitely the type of guy Sal is, be like Sal. Play the numbers, create big plays on parlays. Pick 3 teams to win, and if you hit all 3, you can turn $100 into $600, Sal. I'll float you that $100 if you want, by the way. If you can guarantee me you turn it into $600.
Sure. Send it over.
Perfect. There's so much to bet on over at MyBookie. You can bet on playoff baseball, hockey, primetime fights, and more. We talked about the fight, the UFC fight last week. So it's just a lot you can do. But MyBookie is the one bet that we know you'll be happy with all year. We recommend these guys because we really trust them. MyBookie has been in business for years. They've got great online reviews, and their mobile site is easy to use. If you're on the sidelines, now is the time to get in the game. MyBookie will still match your first deposit dollar for dollar, but you got to join now because they'll be pulling that offer soon. So log into MyBookie right now and double your money. Use promo code FFL, and you'll get the first deposit matched 100%, Sal. You understand that? 100%.
That's pretty sweet. You want to know what else is pretty sweet about MyBookie? They actually had a prop bet, where you could pick which one of Nurmagomedov's corner guys and teammates would jump over the cage and punch Connor from behind. So,
nice.
Yeah, that was prop. But I didn't have money on a red shirt guy. I had it on a gray shirt guy, so I lost.
Always go red shirt.
Yeah.
So, well, if you want to make bets like that, get in there. Get to mybookie.com and use promo code FFL. You play, you win, you get paid. And on that note, Sal, really gray shirt. You're better than that. Come on.
Sorry.
Steelers and the Bengals. Juju Smith-Schuster, who has the most fun name to say in the league, I think, right? Is that right? I feel like that's right.
I have to think about this. Carry on.
All right, you continue to think about that. He's projected to get 14 points in this one.
Kiki cutie.
He's on pace for 112 receptions and 1,440 yards, which is crazy considering the last 2 weeks have been down weeks for him.
Yeah, he got the touchdown last week, but only about 34 yards receiving.
34 yards. Yep. So 14 point. What did I say? 14 points. What do you think? Over, under?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still thinking about his name?
I said Kiki cutie.
Oh yeah, that's right, Kiki cutie.
That's a fun one. Yeah, we've seen the shift back to Antonio Brown the last couple of weeks. You know, like we said, squeaky wheel gets the oil, and it's Brown's got the 2 touchdowns last week. So 14 points is a big number. Let's take out all the averages and all that stuff, and I'll say he'll finish somewhere around 10 points this week. So I'm going to go under for Choo-Choo.
Interestingly enough, James Conner projected at 17.8, getting closer to that date that Le'Veon Bell said he would return, and yet the team seems to be rallying around Conner, saying that he should still be relevant when Bell comes back. But still no Bell in this one. 17.8. Another monster game from him last week. A couple of down games before that. Do you think he can keep that going?
I think he can, because I think what they saw was the offense moved better when he was more involved, and he was heavily involved last week with 100+ yards rushing and 75 receiving, touchdown both ways. Really, really monster game out of him. You know, rivalry game. Cincinnati's playing much better. I think that they'll have him definitely heavily involved.
Yeah, Cincinnati bottom third of the league as far as running backs, and we also know that it's a road game for the Steelers, and Road Ben is suspect to begin with. So, all right, on the other side of the ball, Tyler Boyd projected to get 11.5 points. He has exceeded expectations for the majority of the year. However, the last game, not his best one of the season. He only had 4 catches for 44 yards, didn't get in the end zone. So it was his first real down game up since the first game of the year. So do you think that he can get more than that 11.5 projection?
Yeah, I do. It's Pittsburgh 30th in the league, and defending a wide receiver, really not good at all. Yeah, I was starting both A.J. Green, obviously, and Tyler Boyd in this one. Last week they moved Green into the slot to avoid the Xavier Rhodes matchup, but I bet you see Green back outside doing his typical thing, and a lot of the stuff to Boyd that you had seen in the previous weeks.
All right, then we will continue along to the Chargers and the Browns, and we'll start with your guy this week, Austin Eckler. 8.9 is the projection for him. He has been so good this year as far as being a very steady option for those people who probably have taken a chance in putting him in the lineup. I think going into or after the first couple of weeks, we've said he's a guy in deeper leagues that you can trust as a flex play. I think he's a guy in regular leagues that you can trust as a flex play. He's just been very steady.
Do you have his weekly numbers in front of you by any chance?
I do. Do you want me to go through them for you?
Just give me his point totals in all 5 weeks.
Yeah, so 21.1 in the first week, mostly on receiving yards. 11.3 in the second week. His lowest week was week 3, where he had 6.6, and then 12.6 and 12.4. So very steady.
So in only one game has he been below the projected number that they're telling you about. I think this guy's been a great person to use for really cheap price at DFS. So you could actually spend some big money elsewhere. So yeah, if I have him, he's a flex player for me for sure this week.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's in the lineup as a flex play. Cleveland, just above the Bengals as far as running back points scored against them. So you can count on him, I think, to get that 10 to 12 points. So he'll be over that 8.9 projection. In my opinion, he should be in your lineup. On the other side of the ball, the guy I keep bringing up and keep talking to you about is David Njoku. And the reason we keep bringing him up is because he keeps getting slightly better every week. A couple of points every week he's gone up, and he's almost breaking that 10-point threshold In this one, he's projected to get 7.4. Is he, a startable tight end every week, and does he finally break that 10-point threshold?
I think he's getting close to being a guy you're okay to lock into your lineup every week. In the 2 Mayfield starts, he has 18 targets and 11 catches. Last week, 6 for 69 was 69 was his second best total in his career. You got to remember this guy's a rookie. He's been playing. I'm sorry, second year player, and as a rookie, he played in a terrible offense. So yeah, signs are pointing up for Njoku. Chargers decent against defending the tight ends, but I think that he's the number 2 target on his team at this time. I was starting to think it would be Rashad Higgins, but after catching a touchdown last week, he got injured, and I don't know that he's 100%. So I think it's Landry and Dennis Njoku.
Yeah, I mean, Njoku dominating the snap percentage for, with any other running or wide receiver outside of Landry. In fact, he's the second highest snap percentage guy, and obviously a little different because he's a tight end, but still he's in on a lot on 84% of the plays. So he's in there, and obviously Baker likes throwing to him. So I think it's a guy you can trust as well. I think he'll be over that 7.4 number. The Bills and the Texans. Sal, is this the worst game of the week?
Boy, I really have to look at these games. Forget that Tennessee's playing Baltimore this week. Seattle's playing Oakland, by the way. That's a crappy game.
That's a pretty crappy game, too. Yeah, that's right.
I think Houston's a pretty good team. I mean, I know it hasn't shown up so much so far. I mean, Deshaun Watson, who got banged up last week, look at his passing yardage over the last 4 weeks. He's had some monster outputs, Coincidentally, I have him as my landmine quarterback this week because Buffalo has been okay against quarterbacks, just okay. Top 10 in the league, okay. But this team, the Houston team, now runs through the pass game. Alfred Blue started. I got all the snaps last week, and Lamar Miller says he'll be back this week. So where I might be wrong on that is I don't think they could do anything more than pass. They got the 3 guys, Kiki Cutie and Fuller's healthy. And, of course, about Nuke Hopkins. So, no, I don't think this will be a bad game. Buffalo's got 2 wins, man.
Yeah. Lamar Miller was the guy I was going to ask you about, 10.5 point projection for him. I think that's not happening as well.
Has he gotten over that this year?
No, I'd have to check. Hang on, let me pull up those stats.
Well, he didn't play last week.
He didn't play last week. 11.4 in week 1 and 11.6 in week 3.
Well, sit him on a bench.
Yeah. On Buffalo's side of the ball, we finally saw LaShawn McCoy have a decent game last week, projected to get 10.8 in this one. But the guy I'm really curious about is Chris Ivory, who's projected to get 6.8. And the reason I'm curious about him, Sal, because the rumors are flying about LaShawn McCoy and potentially being traded, flying around everywhere. I would love to see him go to a new team, as I think most fantasy football players would, but not just because of LaShawn McCoy, but Chris Ivory would become relevant, I think.
Yeah, how about just kicking the nards for McCoy? He gets traded over to Buffalo, and then Philly wins Super Bowl, and then they trade for him the year after they win a Super Bowl, bring him back. Like, hey, you want this? We had one of these rings in a closet if you want. Yeah, Chris Ivory somehow manages to continue to stay relevant, and obviously he would at that point. That's not a lot of points this week. Well, 6 points something. So I'll say he figures out a way to get over. I think they want to pace this game. I think that they are short passing and running on the legs of Josh Allen and both running backs. So I could see it happening this week.
All right, we will continue on. The Bears take on the Dolphins. This one's also one of the ones at the bottom of my wish list for viewing games, but Tariq Cohen has been better of late. We saw him, before the bye week have the big game, 26.9 points with, 13 carries and 121 receiving yards on 7 receptions and touchdowns, both, so just monster game for him, although he's been pretty quiet overall the rest of the season. In this one, he's projected to get 9.7, Sal.
I'll tell you, the offense looked to be clicking on all cylinders in week 3, week 4, before the bye week. And I think that they saw that they need this guy to be a part of the offense. Earlier in the season, Taylor Gabriel was getting a lot of those short passes off the line. He got used a lot more. This is not good news for the Jordan Howard owners. Jordan Howard still remains as a solid RB2. But, coming off a week like that, I got to put Cohen in my lineup and hope that it continues. I will say over.
Yeah, Miami Dolphins have given up 3 receiving touchdowns to running backs this year, and I think there's a good chance that he gets in the end zone in that fashion again. So I would say over on that as well. On the Dolphins side of the ball, Kenyon Drake was the guy who miraculously came back from the dead and had a big game. He scored 21 points, again, mostly through the air, 7 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown for him. He's projected to get 9.1 this week, and I just I don't know. I feel like he's going to screw a lot of people.
Well, if you start him against the Bears, you're crazy. I'm looking at the stats now. 3rd in the league against rush yards, 1st in the league against rushing touchdowns, 1st in the league against receptions to running back, 3rd in the league to reception yards to running backs, and they've given up 1 receiving touchdown. So that's the 1 touchdown total to all running backs, both rushing and receiving. This is not a good matchup for anybody who runs the ball. And Frank Gore, by the way, still out touching and out snapping Drake. He just did that with less touches last week. So,
man, Frank Gore. It's crazy. I'd like to see Kenyon Drake get used. The guy's dynamic. I mean, I agree with you. Chicago's a terrible matchup. Obviously, the best in the league against the run. You just went through all the stats. But I'd like to see Kenyon Drake get more work. He's dynamic when he has the ball. But they just don't seem to want to use him in that way. And so we will continue on. The Rams take on the Broncos. And even though the Broncos have a, good defense, they're not quite back to where they were, but they're a relatively good defense. You're starting all your Rams, right? Do we even have to talk about them every week?
No, you don't have to talk
about the injury report, all right?
That's it. Why don't you go check what Sam Darnold did to the Broncos last week?
Right.
But like you did say, Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp both in the concussion protocol. So that's something you definitely want to check throughout the week. I don't know that it even scares me off, even if they are in a concussion protocol. I think I still play Goff. I still play, obviously, Todd Gurley's no question. Robert Woods gets an uptick in that. And then, hey, if those guys are out, take a peek at Josh Reynolds and see what he could do. He's a guy who they were high on before they brought in some of these other players. And if there's room to get him on the field, he's still a good-looking young player.
Did you tell him that personally? He might like to hear that.
I sent them a DM, and I got blocked. So
yeah, that's probably about right. I mean, you are a 50-year-old man, so
44.
On the Denver side of the ball, Cortland Sutton finally caught his touchdown, but he's just still not getting the volume that we would like to see from a guy that clearly has talent. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on Demaryius Thomas, who finally had himself a decent game. Finally looked like Demaryius Thomas. 5 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown, 19 points. It's only projected to get 9.6 in this one.
9.6. So that was the definition of jug time gold last week. He got that late touchdown when they were getting blown out by the Jets. But jug time points count.
They certainly count.
And I have a feeling that there will be a lot of jug time opportunity again in this game as the Broncos have fallen to earth after a 2-1 start and are starting to show the signs of an average to below average team. So, yeah, I can see it happening again with some late yardage. Either him or Sanders is going to build up a lot of points late.
So maybe Lindsey is the guy I'll make the exception with on here. But is there anyone that you look? You're going to put some of these guys in your lineup from time to time, I think, because you have to. But does anyone make you happy to have them in your lineup from the Broncos offense?
I think there's the Lindsey truthers and there's the Freeman truthers out there right now. It's starting to become a thing.
Yeah.
And all the Freeman owners or truthers rather believe he could do everything Lindsey's doing if he was just given the touches that Lindsey was getting. I don't know what side I fall on. I don't own Freeman anywhere. I have Lindsey in just the one league, the Falafel Dynasty League. In fact, I was actually surprised at how cheap I got him off of waivers that first week. But I got to put Lindsey in there definitely. And again, I got to look at my options. Freeman's probably going in there for me as well this week, but Lindsey will probably have the better numbers.
Remember when it was the Derrick Henry truthers that used to say that if he got the opportunity that DeMarco Murray got, he would just explode. And
I don't know anything about that.
How's that working out for them? The Ravens will take on the Titans this weekend, and Derrick Henry projected to get 8.6 points. I have no idea why they continue to project him to get anything more than like 5 points. He has 3.6, 5.9, 5.7, 4.1, and 5.6 so far this season. He is dreadful.
Yeah, Baltimore is good at stopping everything.
Yep.
And especially running backs, top 3 in the league at defending running backs. They've given up 1 touchdown total to running backs through 5 games. Boy, I don't think I like anybody in the entire Tennessee team this week.
No, I don't think I do either, and it's certainly not going to be Derrick Henry getting 8.6 points. That's for sure. You mentioned that the Ravens are top 3 against running backs, and they're still a full 2 points worse per game than the Bears. Just to give you some perspective as to how good the Bears defense been.
That's pretty crazy.
So, all right, on the other side of the ball, Michael Crabtree continues to be projected higher than John Brown. I feel like I need to send Mike Clay a message and just ask why. Why, Mike Clay? Why do you do it?
I'm going to need you to stay away from Mr. Clay.
All right. I like Mike Clay. I think he's great, but this is becoming comical now.
Yeah, Crabtree does not look like himself. He's dropping a lot of passes. He's just it looks like age is starting to set in a little bit with him. Father time finally catching up. And I like it.
No, I agree with you there. And for some reason, I went to Oakland to look up his stats, which he is not on Oakland anymore.
He don't play there anymore.
He does not play there anymore. So we'll just move along and go to the Jaguars and the Cowboys. Another game pretty low on the list. Actually, so the later games next week, you can go do some other things on the 4:00 games.
Hit the pumpkin farm with the kids. They've been waiting this long, start carving those suckers up.
Yeah, go pick out a Christmas tree, whatever you need to do,
You're one of those guys with the Christmas decorations in October?
My wife was telling me our neighbors went out and picked out a Christmas tree. So apparently they go to these farms and you tag one that's going to be your Christmas tree. It's crazy. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Did they bring Clark Griswold and his saw?
Right. So Jaguars, Cowboys. We don't need to talk about the Cowboys because you're just playing Zeke and that's it until further notice, I think, right?
Yeah, Jacksonville first against quarterbacks, first against wide receivers, and that awful pass game. You think I'm going to put any of those clowns in? No, thank you.
Oh, that would be funny. Anyone starting Dak Prescott this week, I feel bad for you. I don't even think in the 32-team league that you're in, Sal, I don't think Dak should be started.
Yeah, I would take Sam Bradford over Dak Prescott.
Right. All right. Then the other side of the ball, we know that Leonard Fournette is still out. They bring in your boy, Jamal Charles, Sal, back from the dead.
I saw people rushing to pick him up and put a big fab on this guy. Get out of here.
People actually put fab on him? No.
Yeah, people did. They added them. Listen, it's the ghost of Jamal Charles syndrome, right? These all-time great guys that we always feel have. It's like me and Adrian Peterson.
I was gonna say bring it up because I can continuously give you crap for this.
We went through this last year, and that was the guy you kept bringing up because they were both playing at the same time.
But at least Peterson has been. I'll give you that. He has been somewhat productive. So
yeah, Jamal Charles is just a guy I feel it's been done for 2 years now, and it's a shame. I don't want to badmouth the guy. He was phenomenal. He's an all-time fantasy Hall of Famer. He did things in certain years that other guys will never be able to repeat, but it's over. It's hard for me to believe that he's better than a guy like Orleans Darkwa. Those guys are not getting an opportunity to get back into the league. Young guys, I figured Jacksonville would sign a guy like that, but this is Yeldon's game. Yeldon looked great. We talked about it last night. He's doing it. He's playing both ways. It couldn't be a better scenario for him in a walk year to be able to showcase himself and showcase his skills. And I think Yeldon is an RB1 as long as Fournette is out.
Yeah, I think so too. For Yeldon's definitely the guy in this one. 14.2 projected here, so I think that that's probably about right. But I could see him going over that pretty easily. So I am in agreement with everything you just said. We will continue to move along then to the Sunday night football game that I will be in attendance at, the Chiefs and the Patriots, live from Foxborough Stadium.
We'll come to you live from Foxborough.
And we'll start on the Chiefs side of the ball with Sammy Watkins, who, I think he struggled in his first game, then had a couple of really nice games, and then got injured and missed a game. Came back last week and had a mediocre game against a very good defense. We know this Patriots secondary can be, a little suspect from time to time, and so his projection right now is a 10.5. Do you think that he's going to continuously be above that number?
I think 10 is a pretty good number for Sammy Watkins to go off of each week. And I'd be happy with 10 from him because he's most likely my third wide receiver or flex player on my team. I don't think I had to take him where he's your wide receiver too. So I'll say over because I think there's going to be points scored on both sides of the ball in this game. Chiefs have shown that they could score on anybody. I mean, they played Jacksonville. They went into Denver 2 weeks ago on Monday night against a seething defense that put up points, and they did it against Jacksonville last week. So much like the Rams, I can't sit any of these guys. They're all in my lineup.
So you talked about some points being scored on both sides, and Kansas City is absolutely dreadful when it comes to just about everything on defense.
Defending everything.
But mostly the passing game for running backs. They've given up 454 yards on 39 reception and 3 touchdowns. James White is projected to get 10.8 in this, but James White has been absolutely crushing it lately.
Over.
Is there any chance what would be what do you give a percentage wise of him getting under that? By the way, he hasn't had under that all season.
3.
His lowest game this year is 11.9 points.
3% chance.
Wow. Yeah, I'd say it's even lower. I think that this is a huge James White game again. I do think Sony will be used because they seem to like giving him the carries. He's I think you can expect to see him get 15 plus carries. So I still think he's going to be
Yeah, they clearly have definitive roles. One's running the ball, one's catching the ball, period. Yeah. And they're both able to be fantasy relevant with that. I talked about this last night when you were with us for the show. In a sleeper wire league that I'm running for us, we needed running backs, and the guy puts in the chat that James White is available. So I'm like, we got a plethora of wide receivers, and the first name I come across is Tyler Lockett. And I'm like, you know what? Baldwin's back, and Lockett still looks good. I kind of like the way Lockett's playing. He's scoring every game. And then I see Marvin Jones. I'm like, you know what? I can afford to trade Marvin Jones for James White. I don't think there's any chance you would have thought that just 5 weeks ago. The guy turned me down.
Wow. I
got turned down. So he's looking to move him, and he could definitely use wide receiver help. And he turned me down for Marvin Jones for James White.
Interesting. I don't blame him, really. I think I'd turn that down, too. Obviously, even with the team needs, I think Marvin Jones has struggled a little bit. He got the touchdown last week, but even with the touchdown, wasn't a great game if you take that away. So
I only finished with like 8 points still with the touchdown reception.
Yeah, I think I'd probably pass on that as well because I think right now you could probably get a little more for James White.
I would all from Lockett.
There you go. Now that's shifting the other way completely. Lock it up. So lock it up.
No, lock it up.
All right. The final game of the week will be on Monday. The 49ers will play the Packers. That should be a snooze fest as well. Although the Packers have struggled in the first 3 quarters of just about every game they've played. this still should be a little bit of an easy test for them, I think. Alfred Morris on the 49ers side is projected to get 10.7. We know that Breda is, I don't think he's coming back from that ankle injury. Probably not going to play in this one. So 10.7 for Alfred Morris. We've seen him be very average when he's on the field for the most part, although he did have a decent game last week. So
I could see him being right around that number, maybe a little bit above with a rushing touchdown from in close. So I'll say over. I don't expect Brady to suit up.
I mean, someone's gonna score against the Packers in the first three quarters, right? They give up touchdowns, so might as well be Alfred Morris. I mean, Kittle might get one, so yeah, I could see 10.7 being around the right spot. On the other side of the ball, Jimmy Graham projected to get 8.8 points. You know, with all the receivers that have been banged up, and obviously you want to check the injury reports for these guys. It looks like, you know, obviously Devontae Adams was back. Randall Cobb still questionable for this. Geronimo Allison still questionable for this. So does Jimmy Graham, you know, have kind of built-in insulated value right now around that 8.8 number because of the injuries?
Yeah, San Fran giving up 4 receiving touchdowns to tight ends this year already also. So that's a nice number. Jimmy Graham should be able to meet or exceed those numbers. I'd definitely lock him in and be comfortable with that. Kevin, do you know which wide receiver led the Green Bay Packers in snaps last week?
Ooh, that's a good question. Was it Valdez-Scantling?
It was. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was on for like 77 of 81 snaps and 47 out of the slot. If that kid is going to continue to play that spot, and he looked good. He caught whatever was thrown to him was caught. So we were talking about this last night. Obviously, we had Brandon on, who's a big Packer fan, and I was telling him that I believe it's the beginning of the end for Randall Cobb when they got a young player like that stepping up in the slot who could do that. And Cobb just has not recaptured. He had that one big week one, and he's, again, either banged up or done nothing since.
Yeah, I'm curious what they do with Cobb. I mean, there were rumors earlier in the year that they might be shopping him and trading him. I don't see it happening. I think that with the injuries that they've had this year, they probably might as well hold on to him. I don't think they're saving much by trading him mid-season at this point. So I think he's definitely gone at the end of the season. I agree with you there, but Valdez-Scantling, definitely a guy you want to have on your radar if you haven't picked him up already. If he's available in your league, keep an eye on it because I don't know if he's going to get the volume consistently, but could be a good fill-in going forward if these injuries continue to play. That wraps it up for us. Sal, we no longer have Steve. The only other thing he was good at is giving all of our social media, so I guess that falls on you now.
It does, but before we get to that, Kevin, we have a new sponsor joining the show tonight.
We do.
Yes.
Great.
At Full Bags, we celebrate today's change makers, the innovators, creators, and forward thinkers. We honor your day in and day out dedication. In our case, we appreciate your focus on straight up strategy mixed with your heartfelt favorite you just can't betray. We recognize your overall process combined with your hopeful last-minute sleeper that could win you all the money. From your living room to your tailgate to the airport on game day, Full has the backpack, duffel bag, or luggage to enhance your journey. What I love most about the backpacks is their durability, storage room, and pockets thoughtfully designed for your every need from your computer to your headphones. Full fits with you as you're on the go grinding lineups, doing waivers, or listening to content. Full Bags has a place for everything, and that is why they are the bags of the choice for our podcast. And since you're listening to our pod, you get a chance to save 20% by going to full.com. That's FUL.com. Visit to pick out your bag and use the code FUNHOUSE. Get 20% off today. Kevin, high quality bags, really, really nice stuff. And designed for today. This isn't something cheap you get, at Marshall's. Okay. This is, if you're looking for high quality at a good price, check out Full Bags. We're happy to have them on board.
It's like those big, those nice fashionable bags you see all littered through New York City that you can get at a reasonable price, I'm assuming. So,
Yeah, not in New York City.
That's what I mean. That's why you go
to FUL.com.
Yeah, that's why you go to full bags, because you get designer bags, reasonable prices. Definitely happy to have those guys aboard here. And Sal, maybe you should look into a new bag. That might help out with the dating scene.
Hello, ladies. Check out my attaché case.
At the very least, you'd be able to store some food in it, right?
Crackers. What's in that briefcase? Crackers. On a somber note, shout out to Sal Stefanali, as we call him, the better Sal here. His father passed away, and he posted on Twitter today and Instagram. And this is a guy who, you see people, you have good relationships with your parents. This was a guy who you could tell his father was his hero. You could tell just how close the relationship was and how much he genuinely loved him. Sal is a fantastic guy, a friend of the show, a friend of mine, a friend of the community. He's a selfless sweetheart of a guy. And we want to send out love and condolences and let him know we're thinking about him. And if you could just drop him a line, everything that you could do, anything you could do, make the guy feel better. Just let him know you're thinking about him.
Yeah, no question. He is the better Sal. That guy's awesome. Great advocate for so many people in the fantasy football community and just everywhere. So, definitely condolences to Sal and best wishes to his family.
Okay, so where do you want to find falafel? I'll tell you where you can find us. You can find us at gridironexperts.com. Go to gridironexperts.com. Check out everything they got going on there week by week. You could go there and get the starters, the sleepers, the DFS breakdowns, everything you need, and plenty of podcasts as well. Gridironexperts.com is where you could find us as well as our own feed. Check them out. And if you want to find us on social media, we are FF Funhouse on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find us in all the social media markets. And Kevin, guess what I'll be doing Saturday morning?
Oh, did they actually invite you back?
I will be on Sirius Satellite Radio's Fan Bowl Weekly at 8 a.m. on the East Coast. Check me out.
I'll have to check you out this time. I did not get a chance to listen last time. I was very upset about it. So I will have to check that out. That would be great. I just want to, before we get out of here, say congratulations to you, Sal, because that's awesome. I'm glad that you're doing great things over at Fanball. If you haven't checked out Sal's stuff at fanball.com, do it. He's doing great work there. And I'm sure, while I missed the first event, I'm sure that he's fantastic on Saturday morning radio, because what else would you want to hear on Saturday mornings besides a cartoon character? And so check him out. So congratulations to you, Sal. And for everyone else, just add a charitable aspect to your fantasy playing experience. Do something with your league mates, get together, donate some money, donate some time, do something nice. Whatever it is, it'll make it that much more fun. FantasyCares.net raised an incredible amount of money this year. They're closed down for right now for the shopping season. They'll be back up doing great things again next year. So even if you want to just start a little side pot for Fantasy Cares to donate when he reopens, that'd be great too. So that'll be it for us. We will be back next week, and enjoy the games.